आबाद रहे वो गाँव मेरा जहाँ लौट के वापस जा न सका। ओ वतना बे मेरे वतना बे तेरा मेरा प्यार निराला था, कुर्बान हुआ तेरी अस्मत पे मैं कितना नसीबों वाला था। तेरी मिट्टी में मिल जावा गुल बन के मैं खिल जावा, तेरी नदियों में बह जावा तेरे खेतों में लहरावा, इतनी सी है दिल की आरज़ू।
Good evening everyone. It's already 7. I think we should start now. So today Kolkata Study Circle is presenting the discussion on critical appraisal of the farm law in India on the occasion of Swami Vivekananda's 150th birth anniversary. The speakers of the sessions are Professor Manik Chakrabarty. He is former professor of Department of Law at University of Burdwan and guest faculty of Human Rights Course at University of Calcutta. Professor Sujato Bhadra. He is human rights activist and guest faculty of Human Rights Course at University of Calcutta. And Professor Dipankar, he is human rights activist and guest faculty of Human Rights Course at University of Calcutta. And the moderator of the session is Dr. Subrata Sankar Bagchi. He is Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Chair Professor in Anthropology at University of Calcutta. Now I'm inviting the moderator to start this session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sudipto. I hope I am audible. Kolkata Study Circle is now trying to delve into the farm laws and the effects of farm laws. So, being a moderator, I have an additional duty to raise the few questions that are there in the public domain. We really hope that by the end of this discussion, we will have the answer of most of these questions, if not all of these questions. So let me just give a rapid gaze towards this questions. So what are the new farm laws in India? We all know that these are the Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Promotion and Facilitation Act 2020, Farmers Empowerment and Protection Agreement on Price Assurance and Farm Services Act 2020, and Essential Commodities Act 2020. And the details of these acts will be discussed by Professor Manik Chakrabarty of this panel. Now, these are the major questions that we face. First, I must inform the House, those who are not informed, those who could not really update themselves, that today Supreme Court stays the implementation of the 3 farm laws, and of course Supreme Court forms a committee to negotiate the farm laws with the farmer. Now we all have the question what is the current situation of land in agriculture? So while discussing the farm laws, the panelists may also discuss this one. Is fragmentation of land a major problem in India? How the APMC, that is the Agricultural Produce Market Committee, comes into this frame, and of course, how does it play where there are weak network of APMC mandis? What percentage of countries' workforce is engaged in agriculture? Do workers need to be weaned out, and how? Whether whether farming can actually feed all the agricultural workers, those who are engaged in farming, or do we have to wean out these workers to some other sectors? And if we have to do that, what can be the process? And of course, there is a great debate like water guzzling crops, whether paddy is the only water guzzling crop, or whether other crops, water guzzling crops, can this criteria actually taken into account while was this criteria taken into account while framing the three farm laws? That's a very big question. Are wheat and rice the only crops for which farmers receive MSP? There are other crops. We know that there are other crops also that receive MSP. What are the ways that MSPs are actually determined? What happens to the farmers who produce the crops when market prices crash? We have a scheme like market intervention scheme, and how market intervention scheme actually intervene or don't intervene. Let the peasants suffer for this price crash. What are the critiques of MSPs and MIS, market intervention scheme, that are there in the market? Is it only the farmers of Punjab and Haryana who benefit from procurement? Even today, Indian government has maintained that, these are the two states from where farmers come to Delhi and agitate. Whether this is true, whether they are the only one who are actually benefited from this procurement. What other crops are protected by the government through various measures like pulses, wheat, pulses, cotton. Then we have sometimes apple in Jammu and Kashmir, though the procurement has declined after the abrogation of 370. Onion in Maharashtra. Whether these crops are actually protected par with other, whether the withdrawal of subsidies is actually for India and other third world countries, whether the developed world cannot really or should not really do anything about this despite WTO agreements. Then what is the level of agricultural subsidies in other countries? That's very important. We have seen that developed countries actually subsidize more than the developing countries. That's main debate. Why are farmers agitating when the government says that the new laws will help them, and why are Punjab farmers at the forefront of the agitation? It's repeatedly coming to our view that and of course section of media also trying to project that this is the problem of Punjab farmers, or maybe to some extent Haryana farmers, not the farmers of the rest of the country. Can farming be left entirely to the market forces? Whether we should do that? Even the developed countries don't really leave farming entirely to the market forces. Should a poor country like India do this? And it's these three farm laws actually destined to do these things. Can procurement be abolished? What will happen to PDS then? And I mean, all of us know that, well, there is a design of abolishing procurement and abolishing actually procurement at the same time PDS. So what will happen to the poor people, poorest of the poor, if the PDS is withdrawn and the procurement is abolished? Is there a genuine fear of higher consumer prices due to changes in the Essential Commodities Act and the entry of large corporates in the food business through e-commerce and modern retail? I mean, it's really a genuine fear. Is it a genuine fear, or is it a kind of hoax that has been entered into the farmer's mind? What role should state governments play in getting farmers fair prices? That's very important. And what should the government do to make Indian agriculture more competitive? And how, this is our concern, how anthropology merges with the bill, the nature of vulnerability of local culture associated with the local agriculture, loss of rural diversity due to extreme exploitation of local natural resources, loss of soil, water, associated zoological diversity, detrimental effect on local biodiversity as well. Will contract farming control the local niche and alter the socio-demographic pattern of local population? If MNC control in near future, can it create competitive market embedded in unnecessary tension and exploitation of corporate houses? How the authority of empowerment transfer from local farmer families to corporate houses? How the duty of state is getting challenged by the law in case of ensuring the protection of the farmers? Is there any need to apprise the meaning of assurance anthropologically? What are the local cultural expectations by farm services to their local markets, or even to national markets, may be altered by global trade or commerce? So these are the questions that are there within our mind, within the mind of the people. And of course, very big issue is that the nature of farmers' protest and the responses from the government, and how the human rights are getting violated during this protest. I mean, how government tried to violate the human rights, or rather violated the human rights. So these are the things that are there in public domain and in our mind. I hope rather, that today's discussion will actually clear the cloud, or clear the confusions regarding many of these issues, if not all of them.